When did a doctor's lie cost the life of a loved one? I knew something was wrong with my fiancée Angie in January 2020 when she started coughing differently than usual. She'd had asthma since she was a kid, but this was not her normal wheeze. It was dry, harsh, and came in fits that left her gasping for air. I had been reading about a new virus in Wuhan on Reddit and Twitter. Most people were still focused on the Australian wildfires, but the symptoms matched exactly what Angie was experiencing. Angie worked at the international terminal at LAX, checking in passengers from all over the world. She had been feeling exhausted after shifts, but we chalked it up to the holiday rush. Then came the fever that wouldn't break with Tylenol, and the way she would collapse on the couch, struggling to catch her breath after just walking to the kitchen. Her inhaler, which normally fixed everything, wasn't working. That's when I got scared. I drove her to urgent care one Tuesday morning when she woke up saying it felt like someone was sitting on her chest. The doctor, an older man named Dr. Chapman, listened to her lungs for barely 30 seconds and told us it was just a mild cold. When I mentioned the virus in China, he actually laughed and said, "You need to stop reading conspiracy theories on the internet." He told us the Chinese virus was contained to Wuhan and would never make it to America. He claimed the CDC was the best in the world and that I was being dramatic about a simple respiratory infection. Angie was too exhausted to argue, but I pushed back. Her symptoms were exactly what was being described in medical reports from China. Dr. Chapman rolled his eyes and prescribed antibiotics, which both of us knew wouldn't help with a virus. Over the next 2 weeks, Angie got worse. She started sleeping sitting up because lying down made her feel like she was drowning. Her lips took on a bluish tint that made my stomach drop every time I looked at her. I took her back to urgent care 3 more times and saw Dr. Chapman twice again. Each time he got more annoyed when I brought up coronavirus. He said I was creating anxiety that was making Angie's asthma worse. By early February, confirmed cases were popping up in Seattle and I was practically begging him to take it seriously. Angie had lost 10 pounds and could barely make it up the stairs to our apartment. Her oxygen levels were dropping, not low enough for the ER to admit her, but low enough to scare the hell out of me. Still, Dr. Chapman insisted it was bronchitis, maybe worsened by wedding stress. Our wedding was scheduled for March 21st. He joked, "All brides get stressed before the big day." I started documenting everything. I took videos of Angie struggling to breathe after showers, coughing until she threw up, the pile of tissues beside the bed stained with pink spots. It was unbearable. Dr. Chapman finally agreed to a chest x-ray in mid-February, but he claimed it only showed typical inflammation from asthma. He prescribed stronger steroids and told me to stop catastrophizing about foreign diseases. Then March hit. Suddenly, coronavirus was everywhere. The NBA shut down. Tom Hanks got sick. People started panic buying toilet paper. Angie could barely get out of bed. Her fingernails were turning blue. I called Dr. Chapman's office, but they said he was in mandatory meetings about new COVID-19 protocols. When he finally called me back, he said, "Sorry, bud. Turns out you might have been onto something." Like he'd just gotten my lunch order wrong. By then it was too late. The ER was overwhelmed with people coughing and terrified. They finally admitted Angie, but there still weren't enough ventilators. Nobody had been preparing. They gave her oxygen, but her lungs were too damaged from weeks of unchecked inflammation. The doctor said if we'd caught it earlier, they could have tried experimental treatments, but her respiratory system was already compromised by asthma. Angie died on March 18th, 3 days before our wedding. She was 32. She spent her final weeks believing she just had a bad cold because a doctor thought he knew better than the warning signs. Instead of celebrating our marriage, I canceled. The venue, returned her dress, called friends and family to say there would be no celebration. Instead of picking out flowers, I picked out a casket. Dr. Chapman sent a letter months later after everyone realized how wrong they'd been about COVID. It was filled with medical jargon, saying he'd followed standard protocols based on CDC guidance. There was no real apology, just legal cover. He called it an unprecedented situation no one could have predicted, but I had predicted it. I told him, face to face, again and again. I still have the videos on my phone. Angie crying, wheezing, trying to breathe, while Dr. Chapman told us that American healthcare was too advanced for a Chinese virus to matter. Sometimes I wonder if she'd still be here if we'd found a doctor who listened, one who cared more about people than his ego. I'm still angry, and I'll probably stay angry forever because Angie died in a hospital gown instead of her wedding dress.